Alright, we're going to use heavy paint to paint some crazy crystals. Got this picture just off the web. I don't have any attribution for it. I don't know who painted it. But it's beautiful, and the shapes in it are really, really beautiful. And the colors are really weird to me. So I'm going to talk it through as if I was teaching a class, as if there were a bunch of y'all sitting around and we were talking about painting techniques and art in general and why we do this kind of stuff, and not particularly focused on anything except I got a little anger to work out in the beginning in general, because I saw some comments from a guy who on a video that was praising heavy paint and somebody really loving it. I won't get into specifics of who, but they were just loving it, having a great experience painting with it, finding all this stuff in it that was good for them. And a commenter said, "Oh, so it's basically just a crappy Photoshop." And it kind of lit me on fire. There's a whole drama surrounding that, my response to that and everything, but that pisses me off, man. No, it's not. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with Photoshop. Nothing. It is a completely unique art tool. It has its own qualities and strengths and abilities that you're just not going to find in anything else. And I'm going to list the reasons why as I paint, so I just sort of have something to talk about. One of the reasons why is because it's $20. We'll just get down to earth. It's $20. For $20, you can have a full painting app, painting creation app, multi-platform painting creation app. You know, for the price of a pizza. And I haven't checked on Photoshop in a while. I haven't really cared about it. Previously, before Heavy Paint, I used Art Studio Pro almost exclusively. I think it's nicer than Procreate, which is also beautiful, of course. I spent a long time painting with Art Rage on the Mac. That is elegant. Beautiful paintings with it. Luscious, real-world looking paintings. Art Rage does it great. Art Set 4 does it great. Just a fantastic natural media painting experience on an iPad. But Heavy Paint is different. It's fundamentally different from all of those. And it appeals to me in a way that none of them do. It's pure shape creation tools. You know, I look at this image and I know in my mind how to approach it in Heavy Paint, where it might be pretty intimidating in other apps. I can see how to do it in other apps, but you would have a million brushes and a million ways to approach it, and a million layers and effects that you can put on things, and you just have to watch a few art videos on YouTube, painting videos where people do that kind of stuff to know that whole process. Yeah, totally beautiful stuff can be done that way. Of course, this is a different approach. This is starting from scratch and building an app, an artist building an app for him to paint with, and that we get to benefit from that and communicate with him how it works. That's amazing. You can't do that with Photoshop. You can't just get your feature included in Photoshop, but you can here. If it's a good feature, it's a good idea, Vaughn's going to listen to you. I've seen him do it on multiple streams. That's amazing. That's totally amazing that you can have that kind of response. Even if it were to take months, it's great. Like, who cares? You got your word in. You got your opinion in. So that's another way that it's better. All right, we haven't even started painting yet, and I've covered multiple ways that this is better. So calm down for just a second. Diminish the rage. Don't let people on the internet make you furious. But this dude did make me kind of furious, because diminishing another person's creative work is just the shittiest thing you can do. You enhance other people's creative work. That's what we're here for. Speaking of which, we're listening to Back to the 80s Retro Wave, Synthwave, Chillwave, Retro Wave Mix on YouTube. Full attribution. And I guess we're listening to that unless I get some kind of copyright notice. So. Alright. So how do we approach this? What do we do? Complex stuff, huh? Well, I started by making my canvas size the same as my source image. That's going to help me get proportions. Right? It's the same thing. That means that I can find anchor points and roughly get the same proportions in there. And I've had a mentality for a long time of this applies to gouache painting, oil paint, everything, tattooing, everything. Big shapes to small. What's your biggest, broadest shapes first? And you might look at the crystal and think that crystal's the biggest, broadest shape, but it's not. It's the background. And I like to start with the chisel radial tool because it gives these big chunky shapes, right? Looks like he added redo back in. So you should be in different spots. So this lets you make these broad shapes, right? Here's a tool that's not in Photoshop. The very first tool I grabbed, right? Not in Photoshop. Someone said maybe it's an add-on, but Photoshop is like taking a 747 jet to the 7-Eleven. It's inappropriate. It's too much for many, many paintings that you might do. For little landscapes, for portraits, for things like this, for sketches. It's so much. And a modern version of it requires, a subscription, right? So you have to pay all the time for it. And frankly, like it all kind of starts looking the same. Like this, the artwork that's made with it is beautiful. Of course, it's like industry standard. Lots and lots of people make great stuff with it. Lovely. But it really does sort of start to look the same. And I found myself gravitating away from that digital art look that I even love. I love digital art. I started making it in 1986 with Dr. Halo. And, it's a super powerful tool. But if everybody does it, that shit, I don't know, looks weak. This doesn't look like anything else. Look at this shit. Sorry to cuss, but look at this. That's the background. When I export it, it'll be even smoother than that. If I wanted to get in and make transitions in here, these wild, I can just pull them across, right? Look at that. Look how crazy that shit is. Rainbows within rainbows within rainbows. That's not going to be visible in my final image, but it gives it character and depth, the same type of thing you find if you painted with a house brush, a house painting brush, big fat 4-inch, 6-inch brush, would leave you all these artifacts, right? You want that. It's character. And these tools let you think big and move fast, really, really fast. It's a little bit tough to talk and move fast at the same time, so I'm sort of just going to take my time. But I could do this painting in 20 to 30 minutes, like to an acceptable level, where all the colors are in the right place, the shapes are there, and it looks, you know, passable, sketchbook level. You know, that's unthinkable in other mediums. It's kind of unthinkable in other apps. And, you know, if the app's not fun to use, you're not going to do it anyway. You're never going to feel like, oh yeah, let me try this out. I bet I could do this. And it's that excitement of, you know, I sort of need that myself. Like that question of, I wonder if I could do this. I wonder if I could pull this off. Well, Heavypaint feels like that. Always have dreams about it sometimes. And it, like with just a couple tools, I tend to use, you know, chisel radial and the fill a lot. There's a ton of options in here that I really hardly ever touch. And what I'm doing is blocking in the big color shapes roughly how I see them, in the places where I see them, splotching it in. One way of putting it is the monkey, the robot, and the angel method. So this is monkey level, where you're just a beast flinging paint at the canvas, at the wall, on the floor, all over yourself, making a freaking mess. James Gurney calls it the chaos engine. You just generate as much chaos as you can with a primitive goal in mind. Like, my primitive goal right now is to get rid of all the gray. Like, that's the only job that I gave the monkeys. Like, get rid of all the gray. I don't want to see any more. And so I'm just kind of going around and making sure that I'm doing that, and while I'm doing it, why don't I just do it in the appropriate colors? Because that just makes my life easier later, right? But it's still this monkey mode of make sure there's no more gray. Make sure the colors are roughly in the right places, roughly representing what I see. And I'm not using any lines. This is all pure shape. I guess not shape design, because I'm using the design that's already in the image. Shape interpretation, shape recognition, that's probably more it. Like, you're training your eye to recognize these shapes. Like that's not the proper color there. But it makes me ask, what is? What should be there? Like, what's closer? It's like a magenta brown, right? It's this transition color that's weird. So I see it and I try to make notes in that color that match what I see there, and then scan around, like where else do I see it? Well, I see it there. Crazy purple brown. I see it along this line. That's going to need a lot more refinement. I see it down here, up into here, right? And I can make a line just by pulling across like that. Or I can make a big shape pretty darn easily too. And I might as well block in some whites in some of these areas just so I have a good note down where they are. I'm kind of going to refine it, still get rid of the gray pixels. I probably should have put something under it, like a color under it. Like I could have laid in that white everywhere, but that's a little garish too. But it's fun at this point to try to get some area exactly right, so you can envision how that will work across the whole painting. So something like that, I would just turn off the jitter. You can see I'm just pulling up and pulling away in big, chunky shapes. And I'm realizing that's not supposed to be pure white, because the crystal is pure white up there. And it's in this kind of shape. And then its surroundings are a step down. So, this technique is available to, how do I phrase it? It's available to artists and non-artists alike. Like, you don't have to be an artist, quote unquote, to do this stuff. You might become one by doing it, but this is all this is shape recognition and study. It's looking at something and figuring it out like a puzzle and working your way across until you understand it. Like your painting isn't, the point isn't the painting. The point is like learning about this thing and what it looks like and how it operates. And, we're seeing light passing through, in this case, ancient minerals, been there for thousands and thousands of years, finally illuminated by human intervention. It's worthy of study. It's worthy of internalizing this stuff. It leads to a greater appreciation of the world around you, I think. Looks like we're shifting lighter as it goes down in the background. Again and again I'm making these same strokes that it's like press down, find the contour, and then pull out. So it's not like a brush stroke that you'd make in another app, where it's like you're applying paint. This is more like you're wiping across the surface, wiping away colors. You know, you've got this RGB picker up here where you can get down to the real nitty gritty of what you're after. I'm doing layers of white now. You know, with a light touch, it's just that. Like, look how subtle. I'll zoom in a little bit. You know, this is with a very light touch, one pass with a light touch. This is pressing down hard, nice and opaque, right? But then you can kind of carve away with this lighter shape dragging. I'm kind of breaking my rules because I didn't get rid of all the gray yet, so I should probably do that. It's like eat your broccoli before you have your ice cream. They say when you do public speaking or when you do these kinds of things like YouTube videos, it's good to imagine one person that you're making it for, and then and yeah, just keep them in mind and talk to them, and then everyone else gets to benefit from that too. I found that pretty useful. It's definitely a good technique. I do it for my nephew. What up, Isaac? I've been painting for hardcore painting for since 2010. When we moved to Tucson, I just started studying painting non-stop. And some of that was digital, but most of it was acrylics. And just sometimes oils, a few oils in there, but mostly acrylics. And I love the drying time of it, and the heat of Arizona was just like this perfect mix. I could just haul ass and paint really, really fast. And it was constantly drying. So I kept a stay wet palette for my paints, and it just added this thrilling element to painting, to be racing the heat. You know, it's 110, 115, 120 degrees sometimes. It's crazy. It's, you know, acrylic paints under those circumstances are just really, really fast drying. So approaching paintings like that, approaching heavy paint like that, has been really fun with that hurry mentality. Like, don't take your time. Use these tools to make the biggest, thickest marks you can possibly make and haul ass. Like, you know, have a rip-roaring time of it. Like, painting shouldn't be hesitant and wishy-washy. You should be finding amazing stuff in there, getting in and getting out, and moving on to your next one. This is just my warm-up painting today. This is just something to get the juices flowing before I start my professional work. You know, but sometimes these are the ones I love the most. They have this freshness and beauty because I genuinely don't care. Just, again, it's a study. It's to figure it out. I'm never going to make any money off it. It's somebody else's photo. You know, you're never going to sell it. It's just, it kind of goes in the file. Goes in your mental file, too, I don't paint crystals all the time. It's been forever since I painted any. I did a couple recently in gouache just to try it because it was so pretty and, you know, appealing, but I don't. This is like my thing, man. It's like fairy unicorns here. But when you get down to it, it's so pretty and cool. No wonder people are into it. I don't think I fully got rid of the gray yet. So yeah, like James McCurney said in this video, you have a chaos engine and a refinement engine. And it's all about making those two work together. You know, lay down the chaotic brushstrokes. Don't worry if they're wrong, quote unquote wrong, as if you can really make them wrong. But you're not thinking about that. You're just like finding shapes, and if it's not 100%, it won't be. My proportions are not exactly the same as what's over here. That's alright. Like, go easy on yourself. You're having fun in painting. You're not supposed to be a computer. Let the computer be the computer. You just be a human being and, you know, have a good time of it. And then find out what the results are. Don't go into it expecting results. Just find out later. Like, oh, that worked. Oh, that one didn't. On to the next one. You know, we get all wrapped up and proud about our work. Like, oh, this is an expression of my soul. And in a sense, it is. You know, because you have a decent soul and you're using your time to paint and all that. But it ain't that precious. It's just pixels on a screen. You know, or paint on a page or whatever. It's not that precious. There's always more. You can sort of have that fun game of always, like, I did it with tattoos for a long time. Imagine this is my first tattoo I've ever done. How would I approach it? And then the corollary is, imagine if this is the last tattoo painting I've ever done. How would I want it to look? Would it accurately reflect where I am in my life? You know, if I die tomorrow, this is the last YouTube video I post and the last painting I did. If I have a heart attack sitting here talking to you, you know. And of course, it probably isn't going to be, and of course, it might be. So you're playing that game of psyching yourself out and building yourself up at the same time. You know, because we have a dual problem, right? We have low self-esteem, or a lot of people have low self-esteem, or in periods of your life, you have low self-esteem. It's not like a constant, but it happens. Most people I talk to have felt it at some point. So you have low self-esteem, but then you also have ego, and ego's telling you that you're the center of the universe. And that the painting that you're doing has to be the best, or it's just not worth it. Does that sound familiar? It has to be the best, or it's not worth doing it. a very Trumpian fucking mindset there. Um, it's pretty sick. You know, what does the best mean? Who's the jury? How do you know? You're not even qualified to say what the best is. You know, what's the best? Who's the best? Who's the best painter? Who's the best tattooer? Bullshit. You know what I mean? Who's the best actor? It doesn't make any sense. It's a false narrative that especially lives in the Western soul. And the paradox is, like, right, we love paradoxes. So what's the paradox here? The irony. The irony is that the less you focus on being king shit of the universe, the better the work that you do is. And the more it represents who you are, what you see, the more doors it opens up for you. You go out into the world, maybe professionally, maybe not. I found anytime in my own life when I've been lonesome or wanted to talk to somebody, well, all I need to do is just go paint outside somewhere or sit in a cafe and draw. Somebody's going to want to talk to you about that. It's cool. It's the coolest thing they saw today, in many cases. Certainly would be for me. If I was in a coffee shop and I walked past somebody who was sitting there sketching exactly this, I'd have all kinds of feelings about it. Right? Like whoa. Oh shit, man, that's cool. So what else gives you that? It's rare, right? Maybe music could, although you have to get people's attention and sit there sort of impeding on their space. Art, you're not impeding on anybody's space. You're just out there in the world, especially painting from life. So I'm 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in? I can't really tell. And it's already beginning to look like something. I'd say the monkey phase is finished, and now is a really good time to sit back and think about the robot phase. And the robot phase is, as it sounds, it's mechanical, right? We're gonna really refine and think about sharp shapes. Be very specific in the places where it's specific in the original source image. As I sit here, I'm scanning all of it and trying to spot the substantial differences. One of them is right here, and how this all works out. I think I've got my line in too far. This might not even be enough. So that shape comes down. Oops. And then over, then down, over again. So here to here. It's a little closer. The colors aren't right yet. It's more red. And I try to use the color picker after I've decided on a lot of the colors. I don't. I try to find it on the RGB slider or the hue, saturation, and value slider first when I first pick them, and then I try to use the colors that are already in the image if they're right. So I'm not adding new tones all the time that might screw me up. Try to make those decisions early, and I think I have it all, and I can use my own painting as a palette. And I think I have most of them in there now. I've got a nice deep, rich maroon, got a violet, pink, a white, pale yellow. Might need a lighter tone of that somewhere. This reddish brown, and that's pretty much the whole range that I see in the source image. So now that it's there, I don't need to keep adding colors from the color picker. I'm sending an emoji to a friend. Multitasking here. I'm looking at crystals and gems. I'm talking to you. I'm listening to synthwave. And I'm sending smiley faces to pretty ladies that I haven't seen in 20 years. That's how we roll around here. You know, this is where I slow down, is in the in-between parts. You know, when I'm painting, I want to move fast, really, really fast, and just go, and suspend my critical brain, my monkey brain, and all that. This mix got lame. Switch to something else. You know, that monkey brain, critical brain, ego brain, all that kind of shit is a hindrance to making cool pictures. Not even going to say art, just cool pictures. That's all we're doing. It gets in the way. It tells you not to do it. It tells you you suck. It tells you that you need to go to art school. It throws up a million barriers. You don't have the right paints. Your brushes aren't what you want. You need this app or that app. You need to wait until you can afford this, and then you'll... Does any of this sound familiar? It's all ego shit, man. And it's a plague. It hits us all, and it prevents good work from being done. So I always want to... I hope I don't have too much of that left in me. Probably do. Don't even know it. Stupid ego. I try to suspend that somehow, and speed does that for me. Working really, really quickly and thoroughly does that for me in a way that nothing else really does. But then when I take a break in between these sections of the painting, so we're in between monkey and robot now, we're 1/3 done the painting. Not in time and completion. like to step back. I like to make it really small. See what it looks like from across the room. Would that catch my eye if it were across the street? I think so. I know so. If I saw that, I would be drawn to it. I'd want to get closer and see what it was. So, I'm succeeding on that monkey level. Right? Like if the criteria is base animal appeal, does it have it? Yes. Piece of cake. It's neat looking. So our next phase is the robot phase. And that's where we're going to make it more accurate if we can to, I say we, I'm painting this. We aren't painting this. I'm painting this. I'm going to see if I can make it more accurate to the photograph and simplify at the same time. If there are overly complex parts, I want to break that down and clean it up. And that's what the robot's good for. It's like a Roomba. The robot covers everything, Of course, I'm still a human being. I'm not a robot. But that's the mindset to have for the second phase. And to sort of trick my brain, I'm going to start the other way than I did last time. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. And I still want fill, but probably not as messy. I want a cleaner, sharper edge. So I use that, this alpha with the full white, none of the texture in there, it's just full white. And that will give you a clean edge. Little bits in there. I can do a nice translucent kind of edge. So I'm keeping, that messy underneath part, I'm keeping some of that. It gives it character. But I'm also refining and digging into places that don't need it. Places that you need that balance. A place for your eye to rest, a place for it to find interest, back and forth, and always remembering that the viewer brings so much to a painting, right? Like you fill in the cracks with your own brain. There's that old line, who is the wizard that makes the grass green? Of course, the answer is you, Jack. You are. So while I'm doing the robot phase, I don't need to talk about it that much. It's more about doing. You can see I've slowed down, and I'm not moving as crazy fast across everything. I'm taking my time a little bit more. Looking for what I actually see. You know, I may still be missing stuff or forgetting bits or whatever, but I'm trying not to. I'm trying to get it really close to what I see. And there are still little gray bits there, but there are in the source too, so they get to stay. I've never put in a video, never talked about who I am or why anybody should give a shit what I think about painting. I'm not sure I really can answer that second part. I don't know. I think the reason that I'm going to make art instructional videos is because I've watched 100,000 of them, and I love them. I can't get enough. People's process and how they paint, how they approach making art, and their philosophy behind it is just endlessly fascinating. And it's one of my favorite things to do. You know, if I was just painting this on my own today, I'd probably be watching one of them. You know, Borodante, or especially James Gurney. Everybody knows about that, right? Like, he's just legendarily amazing painter. And the point I was going to make is that, you know, for all of that, I don't see too many people, if any, that treat it the way that I do. You know, I come by it honestly. My grandmother was a oil painter, and we had our paintings on the walls the whole time I was growing up. So I always knew this is something that you can do. This is like one of the things that people do. And, you know, it's possible. It's on the list of possibilities. I wanted to be a magician. Straight up. I just wanted to be, at that time, for most of my childhood, somewhere between ventriloquist and magician was the goal. And making art seemed almost like a stuffy thing that old people did. You know, because I saw so much beautiful artwork in museums, and, you know, I grew up near the Brandywine Museum with all the Howard Pyle paintings, and we'd go there on school trips and see Andrew Wyeth. You know, once you've seen some Andrew Wyeth paintings up close, or some Howard Pyles, or some of the, you know, stuff, people's names I can't even remember as I speak here, that are just so good. Like, everything about them is so good. It just felt like, you know, well, art's been done. Good enough. We got it. Thank you. You know, who's gonna top that? Who's gonna, you know, I still had that, you know, I'm a child of the 80s, that hierarchical attitude towards it. Good, better, best. Hierarchy. You know, how are you gonna do better than Howard Pyle? Well, the answer is you aren't. You're never gonna Howard Pyle better than Howard Pyle. Never. Because that's him. And there's no way. You wouldn't want it if it happened. If you woke up and you were Howard Pyle, you'd freak out. It would suck. Because you have no idea what it means to be that dude. And what it takes to make that dude's kind of art. And whether you'd want any piece of it in your life. You know, it might just be hell. And waking up as them would be hell. So you wake up as you know. What can you do with that? Well, you can do all the same shit Howard Pyle could. You got hands, eyes, feet, brain. You know, like you've got all the same probably more. He didn't have tools like this. You know, imagine. You know, so yeah, I've always had this appreciation for we're standing on the shoulders of giants. We live in a magical age of wonders. You know, that tools like this are available to us is a wonder. It's a wonder. Like, not to use too much religious terminology, but it's a miracle. Straight up, like really. Painting with light. You know, I'm comfortable, I'm well fed, I'm comfortable, I'm painting with light. I have access to all the knowledge of the world, any music that I want to hear, you know? Like, it's almost like we won. We, human beings, won the game. We got to all anybody in history ever hoped for, to have this kind of stuff, you know? I mentioned before Dr. Halo. That was the software that my grandfather got in 1986 for making art on a computer, which was just unthinkable then. It was just not... It was outside the paradigm. Not something that seemed like a thing at all. Like, he knew video game art, but that was almost like a joke. That didn't count as art, not compared to Howard Pyle, right? But I made some stuff on that and got hooked with it. Like, oh my gosh, it's so fast. It's like light bright, you know, it's illuminated from behind. It glows. You know, I can go outside right now and do some plein air painting on this iPad. That's amazing, right? So yeah, miracles and wonder. We live in an incredible age, and we waste it on such bullshit. I can't tell you how many hours I've spent wandering the fucking Best Buy looking for some material comfort. It's just not there. You know, it's temporary fixes are there. This video game or this new stereo system that sounds better than your old one. This new TV, whatever. Those are all temporary fixes, though. Painting is a well, what can I say? Painting is a longer term fix. You know, it's something you can refine forever. Both, like in this one painting, I could refine this painting for days if I wanted to, right? Going to each section and pushing it. But it's looked good since the beginning, since the silhouette. It's looked interesting. And right, isn't that like a way to live your life? Like, so every part of it works, you know? Like if you died right now in the pose that you're in, would you be ashamed? You know, like it's all like every snapshot works. Um, that's where life stuff and philosophy stuff intersect with art stuff. I don't know if I got that part completely right. I don't know if I care. We're in robot phase. Remember, robot phase. I'm just doing these quick, soft rotations, still with the fill tool, and layers over stuff to get more complex shapes and to get it closer to the values that I see. Values meaning the range of light to dark, dark to light. Still not 100%, but I'm getting closer, right? Like, and I guess I'm probably moving at half the speed that I was with that first pass. I'm still trying to be methodical. But always moving forward, like I'm not taking a break too many places, and I'm not really undoing very much. It's more like I'm gonna paint my way forward out of any problems that I have now. I'm gonna paint over what I already have down. I'm not gonna back up out of anything. I'm getting pretty close to the end of robot phase, at least for as detailed as I'm going in this painting. Yeah, that's what these videos are for. So if I die, my nephew and anyone else who cares has a robot me that they can just put on, and I'll ramble them to sleep talking about art theory and agnostic moralism and the like. Agnostic morality is the topic. That's it. How do you process and enhance your morality, your moral code in the absence of a higher power? It's probably there's probably a smoother way to say that I don't know. some eclectic agnosticism. Could be an evangelical agnostic. I don't know, and neither do you. Nobody else does. Oh man, I think I coined a new phrase. I don't know if I've heard that one before. I'm an evangelical agnostic. From way back. I was sort of skipping around, darting my eyes around, looking for what stands out. I'm scanning like a robot, right? Still in the robot phase. What stands out? There's a little bit of pink in here. This isn't quite white. None of that is. None of this is. That isn't. Just out to that edge. Barely. This little section isn't quite right, huh? Yeah. Something about this phase, it's like, I don't know. There's a trick I play, which is, it's always my favorite part. Whatever part I'm working on, this is my favorite part. It's how I keep excited about tattoos and paintings and everything, is to, the sketch level, no, that's my favorite part. That's the one I like the best. And then the block in, no, that's my real favorite though, Like psych myself up like that. It's a little brain hack. But this it genuinely is my favorite part. Like, you see it start emerging. What can I say? Probably nicer than I thought it would. And you know it's going to be a good painting. You know it's going to be nice. It's already nice. Does it still pass the test? Is it interesting from across the street? Yeah. I think the transition needs to be a little bit more of this gray and the stuff on top. And go ahead and make this sharp white shape like it is in the original. And that's going to really help with what it looks like from a distance. Because it's going to provide a silhouette. A gradient even from that far away. on the edge between robot mode and angel mode here. Angel mode is, you slow down even more. And at this point, you're looking for the transcendent, for lack of a better word. You're looking for the most magical transitions, effects, the part that just makes it super special. Those soft blurs and edges. Almost everything that we've done, or I've done so far, is really hard-edged. You know, the fill tools leave a crisp line. That's not what we want for everything. It's certainly what we want in some places, right? Like, it's a crystal, so there are plenty of crisp lines, but it's not for everything. We're going to want some little blends and blurs and stuff, you know, some of the center parts. So I tend to use a slightly textured blur brush. And just pull transitions in some of these places. And sharpen edges with it. You know, you can pull it, like, you can refine your edge anywhere. You can make shapes, how do I put this? You can make shapes that your hand doesn't naturally make with this tool. You know, I might really struggle to get my hand in at the angle to make some of these, but by just pulling a line across in a transition, you get sub-shapes. Secondary transitions and stuff. It's just really effective, at least doing the kinds of things that I want to do. It's super effective. And you sort of have to be careful because you can lose a lot in there. You know, there might be a lot of really interesting stuff in there that you don't really want to blur all the way. So don't overdo it. It's like anything else in life or art. It's like, use sparingly, but use it. Like, it's there as a tool. It's great. And so sometimes, like with a plane like that, I want this long, even transition, like to kind of counter the busyness of some of the other stuff. So it works great in that spot. Yeah, so more about me, if anyone gives a damn, is I did tattoos for a long time, still do tattoos, and developed a real um, empathy for people and pain and heartbreak and all that kind of thing. But it takes a toll to be in that all the time. And when the pandemic hit and I couldn't tattoo, I jumped into painting very heavily. Like, made it my number one thing, to the exclusion of almost everything else. And that's the same time that I found Heavypaint. And it's been, it's been the best art tool I've ever used. It just has completely fits my approach and what I'm after in art and what it looks like, and the kind of DIY philosophy of just using software that another artist made instead of some corporation. I don't have anything against any company that makes art tools. That's freaking fantastic. I wish more companies did. But Adobe doesn't need my money. They just don't. I'm not sure Vaughn does either, but it can't hurt to have these sales, to get $20, $20, $20. That's freaking great. And it's amazing that he's made such a useful tool. So rapidly. So I'm an evangelist for it. I think more people should try it out and spend more time making art, less time obsessing over bullshit. We live in the greatest time ever. We have more stuff and people spend more time bitching than ever. It's astounding. A whole culture of aggrievement, and everybody's miserable. And you ask, "Well, what kind of art do you make?" And they look at you like you're crazy. I don't make art, dumbass. Why not? Why not? All the barriers are gone. All the things that held us back are gone. If we have time to watch our stories on HBO, we have time to make art, and we can't say that we don't. So it's a choice. We all loved to do it when we were kids, right? Like all of us. Everybody did. You color, you make pictures, draw yourself as a superhero, you draw your mom and dad. It's kind of cliche, but you lose that. And you turn it into like a series of mananas. Like, I'll do it manana. I'll start painting tomorrow. And that does not happen. And then you're old. You fucking die. And you might have made good stuff. You might have built some box or made killer biscuits or whatever, but man, there's nothing like knowing that you've figured out what that pot of flowers looks like, or those oranges, or whatever. There's just nothing like that feeling. It's top level human feeling. We all know it. It's what we respect the most in our whole culture is art. If aliens landed and asked us, why shouldn't we kill you? We all said, point at the Louvre, right? Look what we did. We made all this. Well, you didn't make it. Those people made it. Unless you do make it. Unless you get in there and do it. And I would hang this in the Louvre. It belongs there. Look how pretty that is. Right? This shit is dope. Straight up. It's just dope. And it didn't take too much time. Didn't take too much effort. It didn't break a sweat. I did have a good time. You know? So I sort of slipped off my angel phase there. Another one I really like is fill gradient. Back to angel phase. So on this edge I see this. That's how I get like a soft radial. This is definitely angel phase because we're talking about glows. Light pouring through there. We don't need a lot of this stuff. You just need it in select places to punch.
And there she was.
That might be a bit much. I see a few things still, but they're just not important enough to spend a whole lot of time changing the angle of that. It's a little bit steeper than I need it.
And there she was.
Yeah, call it pretty close. This has a little more red in it. A little bit brighter. It's here too. I guess I've ignored the bottom part a little bit too much. It looked good at first, but now it's a little empty. And it's funny, each level of detail that you get to implies a new level of detail that you could go to. I think that you could probably, if you were a hyper realist, you could spend hours and hours refining all of this stuff. One step further, down to the pixel level. That ain't exactly my bag. I guess I could do it, but I don't really enjoy it. I don't really enjoy that kind of art. I appreciate the technical virtuosity, but it doesn't. At that point, it's like, why not have the photograph? Definitely a sentiment I've heard a bunch of people say. I just saw a video with Cynics was talking about it. And there's nothing wrong with that style of art. It's just not what I'm after. Cynics was talking about post-realism. So the idea was you got pre-realism, which is kind of like what we all draw as kids. You know, trees brown and green and skies blue. You know, the simple like system that we have in our minds for what things look like. And that's why most kids' drawings look the same, as they're figuring out that symbol system, agreeing on a symbol system too, between themselves. And then you've got realism, which is what most people aspire to if you're an artist, is being able to make something look real. I know for me it was an obsession for a long time. It's like, what can I do to make it look real? More real. And there's some element to that. But post-realism would be when you use the real world as a kind of scaffolding to find the transcendent stuff. It's not about looking like a photograph. It's about finding how the light works, finding what the structure is, finding what the values are, and then your painting has a depth and an intensity. These are my words. These aren't Cynics' words. This is my interpretation of it. And I love that term because it fits what I've been trying to do so well. It's back to magic again. It's supposed to be a magic trick. It's supposed to be amazing. Like, how was this done? You want somebody to marvel when they're up close on it. Like, how was that done? You know? Not just what software was used. How did it go? How did that thing get done? I know that I have that sense of wonder still when I see all this kind of thing. You know, I'm amazed at the work that people do on their paintings, their art. A fan first and foremost every single time. And I sort of want to have that for the stuff I do. I want to be the first one, like, cheering it on. Like, yeah, this is cool. This is fun. This is worth doing. Because I could have sat here and done anything, right? I could have watched the fucking Bourne Identity again. Whatever. Could have drank a beer. Whatever. But instead, I learned what this crystal looks like. And I learned something about how light bounces around in a crystal. I learned something about how to use my tools better to make shapes that I'm not that familiar with. You know, the list goes on and on. I've grown in the past hour sitting here rambling about this weird esoteric stuff. Instead of stagnating, and instead of living in a culture of grievance, you know, where I'm just constantly pissed about what sucks or what I don't have or what I want but can't get, or just, you know, the whole litany of modern Western grief. It's killing us. And, you know, my evangelical nature just wants people to make more art so they feel better about themselves, so they stop voting for Ted Cruz and Donald Trump and shit. It's, you know, like, defunding arts has an effect, you know. Like, it used to be a big part of our education, a big part of our lives. It's just completely wiped out. Of course it is going to have an effect. We're seeing it. So put it back in yourself. You know, get the tools. Learn how they work. Do it. And I'm happy to help you on the way with that. Whoever you are, you can always email me. And I can give you a nudge. You know, you nudge in some direction. Need too much glow in there. I lost that edge. Alright, I think I'm going to call that it. It's a painting of a crystal. Done with no outline, no drawing, no pre-planning. I never painted it before, just tried it this time, and it came out nice. So thanks for the time. I'm going to try to post more of these, and I'll probably rant about the exact same things. Good night.